So yesterday was the Eurovision Song Contest 2024, the 68th edition. Now, for anyone outside of Europe, the Eurovision Song Contest is a yearly event. Basically, every European country can delegate an artist with one song which they will perform. At the end, both the quote-unquote experts and also the viewers can vote on who they think had the best performance, and the one with the most points obviously wins. It's a very typical event, culturally very typical music, typical atmosphere. I guess it's pretty difficult to fully grasp the context of this event without knowing about the history of this competition. But it is a very big cultural event in Europe. Now, first of all, congratulations to Switzerland. They won the competition this year. But this year's edition was very tense. It was very loaded. And one thing that you need to know about this competition is that politics is no-no. Politics is not allowed in the Eurovision Song Contest. So, for example, none of the artists are allowed to express any kind of political preferences, any kind of political ideas whatsoever. Nothing. However, Russia, which used to be a permanent participant, hasn't been allowed into the competition since the war in Ukraine broke out, which to me sounds like a political decision. But anyway, whatever you may think of the war in Ukraine, I certainly have my ideas about that. You can see it in some of my other videos. But that's the decision that had been made. Russia hasn't been allowed into the competition. Now, the unexplainable decision that has been made this year is that Israel was allowed to participate, even though we've been seeing what's been going on in Gaza, and it is very difficult for most of us to describe it as other than a brutal genocide. So that's unexplainable, undefendable at least. I mean, if you're going to exclude Russia from the competition because of the war in Ukraine, then how can you possibly allow Israel into the competition this year? Now, if you ask me, we all know that the Israeli lobby is very powerful in the United States politics, and the United States in general. But I believe that this is a very good example of the influence of the Israeli lobby in Europe. Now, this, of course, caused a lot of tension in and around the venue. So already outside of the venue in the city of Malmö in Sweden, there were a lot of protesters, of course, who were protesting against what Israel has been doing in Gaza, of course. But also, whenever the Israeli artist was performing, there was a lot of booing from the audience, and it just got a little bit ugly. It was just a very unpleasant situation. Now, and then there was a little incident at a press conference where the Dutch artist called Joost was sitting next to the Israeli artist called Eden Golan. And Eden Golan was asked a question about the safety within the venue in relation to her presence at the venue. Let's see how that went.
A personal question. Have you ever thought that by being here, you bring risk and danger for other participants and public?
Now, I have to say that on a personal level, Eden Golan is just a very young woman of only 20 years of age. And then to be asking her a politically loaded question like that might be a little bit much. On the other hand, she is there and she is representing Israel. So let's see what happened.
You don't have to answer that question if you don't want to.
Why not?
You don't have to answer that question if you don't want to.
Why not?
So Eden Golan was asked this question. Someone sitting next to her, which seemed to be her assistant or manager or coach or whatever, said, well, you don't have to answer that question. And then Joost, the Dutch artist, said, why not? Now, apparently this has rubbed the Israeli delegation the wrong way. Now, after this happened, there was some kind of dress rehearsal. I'm not sure if it was the same day or the next day. But anyway, it was reported all of a sudden that the Dutch artist was not allowed to participate in the dress rehearsal. As was reported, there had been an incident apparently, and at first they said that it got physical. You know, it really sounded like Joost Klein, the Dutch artist, attacked someone physically, and that's why he wasn't allowed to participate in the dress rehearsal. Now, when this was decided, so Joost Klein wasn't allowed on stage, someone from the Israeli delegation tried to pay Joost Klein a visit. The one from the Israeli delegation is the one on the left. The one on the right is a security guard of Joost Klein, the Dutch artist. Let's see what happened.
Mr. Klein, where were you? We missed you on stage.
Sorry, can you stop that? Can you stop that, please? Can you stop that, please? Can you stop that, please?
Bro, why are you doing that? We just missed him on stage.
Can you stop that, please?
Please don't touch me.
Yes.
Please don't touch me.
Now, this is the behavior of a 3-year-old. I mean, it's unbelievably childish of this Israeli guy. He was clearly trying to provoke Joost Klein. And then the next day, it was announced that Joost Klein was officially disqualified from the competition. So he was also not allowed to perform in the final. Now, also some more information came out about what apparently happened. So apparently what happened was that there was a situation where it was agreed upon that Joost Klein was not to be filmed at that moment. So there was still a camera woman that kept filming him. And Joost Klein apparently told this camera woman repeatedly, please stop filming. Now the camera woman kept on filming him, and then Joost Klein made some kind of gesture apparently, which she interpreted as a threat. Now she then called the police, and based on only that, Joost Klein was disqualified. Now, of course, I wasn't there myself, and we have to be a little bit careful because apparently there is still some investigating going on by the Swedish authorities. But based on the information we got, this seemed so unbelievably disproportionate. I mean, this competition has been going on for 68 years. You mean to tell me that there has never been a situation where two people had an argument and words were said and things like that? Never has anyone been disqualified over that, but now all of a sudden Joost Klein had to go home. Very, very disproportionate indeed. And if I would have to guess, and admittedly I'm just speculating here, but I suspect that the Israeli delegation might have something to do with this, because it's just too much of a coincidence for me. I mean, first we had that thing at the press conference, then we've seen this Israeli guy basically harassing Joost Klein, and all of a sudden he's disqualified. Just a little bit too coincidental for me. Now, if that is true or not, many people in the audience also thought that the disqualification of Joost Klein was too disproportionate. So again, there was a lot of booing going on for the fact that Israel was allowed to participate, but also for the disqualification of the Netherlands. Now, all in all, it was a very tense evening, very negatively loaded evening. And personally, I have to say, with decisions like this made by the board of the Eurovision, it makes it that this event is kind of losing its soul. It's losing its magic, if you will. And I don't know, I might not watch next year.